Ecclesiastes, the third chapter and the first verse. Ecclesiastes, the third chapter and the first verse. Ecclesiastes, the third chapter and the first verse. And we have it standing all over this place for the reading of the Word of God. You have it, just say it is for me.
It is for me.
It is for me. Ecclesiastes, the third chapter, the first verse. It says, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Again, it says, to everything there is a season, and a time to everything, and to every purpose under the heavens. You can be seated in the presence of the Lord. If I was to pin a topic to this message today, it would simply be, it's time sensitive.
Come on.
It's time sensitive. It's time sensitive. It's time sensitive. As I sat in a listening party on yesterday, God began to speak to me and give me this message. And the first nugget that he dropped was that God's timing will produce a perfect product.
Come on.
God's timing will produce a perfect product. So that's all I had to feed off of. And I felt that that was a powerful nugget when I began to think about it, because in the world that we live in now, as we've discussed before, we're all on a microwave schedule. We want things to happen just like that. Just like that. And how many of you know that you can put a piece of meat in a microwave that has to the wattage and put it in and it'd be okay, but when you put it in another one for the same length of time, that piece of meat will be hard as a rock. It'll be hard as a rock. And so God began to deal with me. And even with popcorn pops in the microwave. But how many of you know that sometimes you can get it right on the head? Sometimes you get it where you have a lot of popcorn seeds left. And sometimes you get it where the popcorn is burnt to its crisp. But how many of you know that when God's timing is in effect, that it's always going to come out perfect?
Right.
It's always going to come out perfect. So I began to think about this, and God began to speak to me about this. And so he began to run down a few questions to me. And he asked me, Tori, do you ever sit and wonder why it didn't work out the way that you thought it should work out? I said, yes, sir. I do wonder why it didn't work out the way that I thought it should work out, because I felt like I was doing everything all correct. I felt like I was doing things the way that they should be done. Is there anybody in here that ever felt like you was doing everything the way that it should be done, but at the end of what you were doing, it didn't work out the way that you felt that it should work out? Can I help you? Because he explained something to me. He said, that's because you rushed the process.
Come on.
That's because you rushed the process. I said, well, God, what do you mean I rushed the process? He said, you must understand that there are blessings that I have for you, and the way that I want to give them to you is strategically set up. It does not mean for you to go ahead of my will.
I hear you.
Somebody gonna learn something from what I'm trying to teach this morning. Because a lot of time we try to rush to get where we know and understand that we should be. And God is trying to take us through a process because it's strategically planned and it's time sensitive. Time sensitive means that it should be there by a certain date. But when you rushed it to get there before time, guess what? You mess up the plan.
My God.
Okay. Let me explain to you like this. When you are planning a surprise for someone, and you have someone set to get them there at a certain time, and the driver that's supposed to get them there at a certain time gets them there before time, and you're not prepared for the surprise to go off the way that it should go, guess what happens? It messes up the surprise because they arrive before you can get done doing what you need to do. Okay, you still didn't get it. Okay, I'm simply trying to tell you that sometimes when you rush the process, you arrive before God has worked out all the kinks for you.
Come on.
So then when you get there and you realize that it's all messed up, it's not that God did not intend for you to have it. It's not that God did not intend for you to get there. It's not that God didn't want to bless you with it. But it's the mere fact that you changed some paperwork to make it go through for you.
Oh my God.
Okay, maybe that helps somebody, because I want you to understand that sometimes you can go and falsify some documents so that they can go ahead and approve you for something that you know that you want and you ask God for, but you don't got time to wait on God. Look at your neighbor and say, you need to learn to wait on God.
You need to learn to wait on God.
Juanita Bynum wrote a song, well, had a song, I don't know who wrote it, but she had a song that said, I don't mind waiting. And when the song first came out, I said, I'm not singing that song because I do mind waiting. But now I understand that waiting is necessary because everything that God has for us is time sensitive.
My Lord.
And if we get out of God's timing, then we mess the whole thing up.
I hear you.
I don't want to be out of God's timing anymore because I don't want stuff to continue to be messed up for me. I want it to be the way that God planned it. But the reason that we get out of God's timing is because we have not totally surrendered our will. We're living upon our own will and not God's. Amen. We want to do things our way. I'm grown enough. I want to do it how I want to do it, when I want to do it, and at the pace that I want to do it in. So when it don't fall in line the way that you think that it should fall in line, you upset. Mm-hmm. Can we just be real and say I've been mad a few times because things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to work out, even though I was doing all the stuff that I needed to do, even though I was doing all the stuff that I wanted to do, even though I was doing all the stuff I think I should do so that it could happen the way that I wanted to happen, and all my plans fell to the ground. Is there anybody in here this morning that can attest to the fact that you arrived at the destination? And when you got to your destination, everything was chaotic.
Oh, yes. Been there.
Can anybody attest to that? That everything was chaotic, even though in your spirit you felt like this was so right. You felt like it was so right. You knew in your spirit, man, that this was for you.
Yes.
Has there ever been anybody? If it hasn't been, I've been there a few times. Well, I know that this is what God had planned for me. I want to help you out. Your spirit man was correct, but your flesh was so puffed up they want to rush you to get there.
My gosh.
I'm sorry, that just stepped on my own toes. My flesh was so puffed up that I wanted to rush to get there. I didn't want to go through what I had to go through so that when God got me to where I needed to be, because guess what happens? When you rush the process, you miss all the strategic stuff that he already got laid out to happen in the process. What are you saying?
Don't miss out.
What are you saying? The strategic stuff is the stuff that teaches you along the way so that when you arrive, you will have it all under control. Okay. Let me help you like this. Let me help you. Give me for a minute. Do you have on the belt? Okay, can you unbutton so they can see your belt? Put just unbutton. Okay, you take your belt out for me. Listen. We're not having no striptease here. We're not having no striptease. I just want to show you something. Okay. Can I show you something? Unbutton because I want them to see. On his pants, there is loops. And every loop is strategically placed in a different position as you go around. Let me show you. That was the first loop. That was the first loop. And it was strategically placed there. But guess what? Something has to happen from here to here to cause it to hold up. So guess what? Then you get to the second loop. Strategically placed. I'm trying to get you to understand that God has stuff strategically placed.
I see where you're going.
So that by the end, you come around full circle.
My God.
And there's something to hold you up. So guess what? When you get there and you don't have nothing, because that belt is designed to hold up his pants so that they don't fall. So guess what? When you race ahead, you miss all of the stuff that God has strategically planned to keep you when you get there.
Thank you, God.
Don't rush the process.
Don't rush the process.
Don't rush the process, because you will miss what God has planned to hold you once you get to the blessing.
Oh, yes. It's hard for us to do.
Have you ever tried to figure out why when you get to the blessing it's such a problem to hold on to it?
Ooh.
It's such a struggle to keep it.
Come on.
Because you rushed the process in getting there and you didn't allow God to work it out the way that he planned on working it out. So, are you telling me that, in fact, God has set up a maze for my life? In fact, I am. And if you would listen to what he's telling you, or better yet, if you would really allow him to order your steps, he'll give you specific directions of what to do at each stop. He will give you specific directions that you're about to turn a corner here.
Come on.
And then I need you to go left. Then I need you to go back right, because I got something waiting over there for you.
Thank you, God.
It's time sensitive. It's time sensitive. Have you ever got a piece of mail and it said on the time sensitive? This is a time sensitive document.
You don't
Guess
want to lose
what?
out.
They had to pay extra to get it to you by a certain time so that what needed to happen could happen. I just want you to understand that God paid extra.
Thank you, God.
By giving his life, his son's life, on Calvary, so that we can get where he designed for us to be by a certain time. Why are you messing up the delivery process?
Thank you, God. Why mess up?
Oh my God. Ask yourself, just out loud, ask yourself, say, why did I mess up the delivery process?
Why did I mess up the delivery process?
Because we can be honest with one another and say, I've messed up some things that God had for me by jumping ahead.
Yes.
By jumping ahead. I moved too swiftly. I moved too fast. I wasn't in sequence with God. That's why God a lot of times shows himself in part and not in whole. Because when he shows it to us in whole, we jump ahead to the end of the thing, and we're not willing to climb to get to where he wants. That's why a lot of overnight sensations fall. That's why we got a lot of one-hit wonders.
Wow.
I didn't live my life as a few one-hit wonders, and I'm tired of it. Is anybody else in here that's tired of being a one-hit wonder? Being an overnight, and I ain't no star. Honey, in your own right, you're a one-hit wonder. Because everybody knew you for one thing, and now they don't know who you are. They don't even know your name.
My Lord. That's something.
Listen to what I'm saying. I know you maybe you get it this way. You was the popular kid in school. Everybody knew who you were. But now you're walking around in life and feeling lonely. One-hit wonder. Because you did something to make yourself become that popular kid. I know. I didn't do nothing. You know that time you beat up somebody and it made, oh, I don't got no fighters in here like that. I ain't got no fighters in here. You know that time that you stole such and such girlfriend? I'm talking to the men. They don't know me in here. Okay. Y'all ain't stole nobody's girlfriend. You know that time that you stole such and such husband? Oh, it got quiet. It got quiet. It got quiet. It got quiet. And everybody was talking. You was trying to rush the process to get somewhere that God didn't even have planned for you to get to. How many people in here can honestly say that you wish you could roll back the hands of time and allow God to honestly do what he desired to do in your life to get you to your destined place, to get you to your blessed place, to get you to this place of exceptional that he's taking us to. Because if we be real, a lot of us is right now living in some places that we rush to get to. And if we would have just waited on God. Because it's not that God didn't want to bless us with it. It's that he had it strategically planned to give it to us. Now the thing that I love about God, is even when we go ahead of his will, even when we go ahead of his will, and we rush the process, God will still sustain us. Listen to what I'm saying. He will still sustain us when we get there. Why is that? Because he already had it planned for us. We just missed the stuff that he had for us getting there. Do you ever feel in life that you're missing out on something? Do you ever feel in life that something just didn't add up? Can I be real and tell you this morning that you was the cause of it? That you was the cause of it. You're the reason that you feel like you're missing something. Because you are. You rushed ahead of God's plan. But I want you to understand and know that even though you rushed ahead of God's plan, he's going to still sustain you in your place called blessed.
Thank you, God.
Amen. Give God a hand clap of praise all over this place.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
As I look around